Hey guys, welcome back. The new deck is here, PURRELY, the little cat. We have in the end gotten all the cards that we needed to at least play this deck, even though it's not at full power yet. So this is the guide for PURRELY. If you want to learn PURRELY, this at the moment tier 1 deck, one of the best decks, maybe even the best deck in the game. I will make a video concerning that topic in a few days where I will show you the top 5 decks to climb the ladder with to Master 1 for this month. So let's just talk about how to play this deck. And the first thing I want to tell you is that I will now talk about, like in every guide I do, I will talk about every single card, explain every single card to you, what they are doing, why they are important. Then I will go over some like flex spots that you have in this deck list, so some things that you could argue about, that you could change up, and then you could do something differently in this deck if you wanted to. I think this is an alright list. I think there could be made improvements, but there are also different kinds of strategies that you can use and go for, depending on what you want to put in here, or maybe also what you have. And then in the end I will show you how we will do, because this is not a combo deck. I can't show you a combo. This is more of a, you have to work with what you are getting and then control-ish kind of deck. So we will do some test hands later where I just will pull a random hand against the opponent, the bot in this case, and then I will just show you how you can play out the hands. And I will also show you what you can do when going second, how you can kill your opponent. Obviously you can just Zeus. This deck has a pretty easy Zeus line, but there's also the other option to use your PURRELY Happiness to basically one turn kill your opponent if the board presents the opportunity to you, because sometimes it just does not. So let's start here. We have Effect Veiler here, and you could also bump this up to 2 Effect Veilers. Here is a nip, you could bump this down to 0 and put another Effect Veiler in. So we are drawing a lot on our opponent's standby phase if we can with the PURRELY Sleepy Memory. That's why we want to draw into some hand traps. This is also a light monster level 1, which we can use, for example, to go into the Sylvan Princess Bride, which enables us to do additional plays. We could also use them to go into our Slacker Magician to go into a Zeus afterwards. So this being level 1 and a light monster is really nice for the archetype, but obviously it's also just a hand trap. That's nice. This deck can, besides its very big engine, as you can see here, we have a lot of PURRELY cards, play a lot of hand traps. So we have triple Maxi, triple Ash and Nip, Effect Veiler and triple Impermanent. You could argue about playing triple Imperm, but I will talk about this in a moment. Let's just talk about the engine first and understand how this deck operates. So we have these little cats, PURRELY and PURRELY. These are your best normal summons, and it depends on the situation which one you want to normal summon, because there is an interaction with the field spell that I will mention in a moment. So let's just understand. PURRELY says level 1, it's a fairy 100/100. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can excavate the top 3 cards of your deck, and if you do, you can add 1 excavated PURRELY spell and trap to your hand. Also place the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. So if you had a PURRELY spell or trap, so all of these until here, all the traps, then you can add it to your hand. If you don't, then unfortunately not. So it's a bit of a lucky effect here. And then the additional effect is, once per turn during your main phase, you can reveal 1 PURRELY quick play spell in your hand. So either your pretty memory, your happy memory, your delicious memory, and at this point we can't reveal the sleepy memory, but in the future when we get the last extra deck monster, we will also be able to do this with the sleepy memory. You can reveal 1 of the quick play spells and then rank up into the little cat, the little XYZ cat that belongs to the quick play spell. So this here, the PURRELY and the quick play spell, would then be material for this card and would be under this XYZ monster. And attach the revealed card to the summoned monster. This is treated as an XYZ summon. The important thing to note here about PURRELY is PURRELY's effect are not once per turn. So you could in theory summon multiple PURRELYs, use the effect to excavate 3 times each turn, or even more if you can reborn this thing. And you could also use the other effect 3 times to rank up with a card, a quick play spell that you have in your hand, okay? The other card, which is basically the mirror opposite to this, is the PURRELY. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add 1 PURRELY card from your deck to your hand, except a quick play spell. So we can add everything, a PURRELY, we can add the trap, we can add the field spell, but we can also add the most important one, the My Friend PURRELY, the continuous trap. Note here that this always adds, so this is not excavate 3 and then get something, this is you will get this card. And then this has basically the same effect as has PURRELY, but with the graveyard. So with PURRELY, you would reveal a quick play spell that you have in your hand to rank up into one of the little girls, the little cats. With the PURRELY, you need to target a quick play spell that is in the graveyard, and then you can rank up. Important to note here is that PURRELY is once per turn, so this is your best target for an imperm. So imperming a PURRELY is very devastating because you then basically negate your opponent's access to one of the most important cards, my friend PURRELY, if he does not have it already, and he can also not use PURRELY's effect this turn, whereas if you imperm this here, which sometimes can obviously make sense if he only has this, but this can be used multiple times each turn if he can summon another copy of this. So these are your normal summon basic monsters that enable you to rank up into your cats, which then enable you, and this is somehow the end goal of this deck, you could say, to go into your boss monster, which is PURRELY Noir. This one is unaffected by your opponent's card's effect, so a towers type of effect if you have 5 or more materials, and we will take a look at this, how we can get materials under this. Then we have a triple Max C, nothing to say here, triple Ash and a Nibiru. Yeah, this is also nice. You could play a crossout if you wanted to be safe from all of these cards here, but yeah, having one crossout, it's not that impactful. And then we have triple pots here. I think this is quite fine. In the stream we were debating a bit about this. You could also go and replace the pots with triple tactic talents, so I would definitely keep the pot of prosperity. But you could put these out for double triple tactics talents. These are also spells, so this works. The thing that I have to mention here is you definitely, because your quick play spells need you to discard cards to summon stuff. I will talk about this in a moment. So you need cards in your hand. This is why this pot is really nice. But this pot has also a disadvantage in that it can be dangerous if you, for example, banish one of your PURRELY delicious memories on your first turn, because you want to have 3 in your deck, and I will explain why in a moment. So there are downsides and upsides to playing this. This obviously is also super rare. In my play until now in Master Duel Ranked, I definitely like the 3 pots, but you can change this out. You can change them out for triple tactic talents or other spells that you want to have in here, but I would say these are pretty nice. Don't change the pot of prosperity, because this can basically get you to your important spells that you may not have access to if your opponent interrupts you at the right time. So to understand PURRELY correctly, let's first not talk about the continuous, the field spell, the trap, or the continuous spell. I think the core thing to understand about this deck are the quick play spells. So we have PURRELY Happy Memory, PURRELY Pretty Memory, Delicious Memory, and Sleepy Memory. And all of them basically work the same way. They have 3 effects, and the first and the third effect are different. So everyone is different between these cards, and the second effect is always the same. So just let us read a card to understand. So the first effect is choose 1 card on the field, and until the end of the next turn, the first time it would be destroyed by card effect, it is not destroyed. So that's quite important, and this sometimes gets passed off as, okay, yeah, I need to do this to activate this card, but you can, for example, protect your field spell from being destroyed, or your My Friend PURRELY, which is a really important card. And then also, this is the effect that is basically the same for everyone. Discard 1 card, and if you do, special summon 1 level 1 PURRELY monster from your deck. So either this or this. So with your quick play spells, you can special summon the little girls from your deck. And in an optimal world, if you can do it without like discarding all your hand traps, you would want triple PURRELY, so you can activate this 3 times, and PURRELY, so you can get, for example, your My Friend or your field spell. And then a third effect, a PURRELY monster, and this is the same with everyone, but the third effect is different in the terms of what the third effect enables the XYZ monster to do. Because it says a PURRELY XYZ monster that has this card as material gains the following effect. This card can attack monsters a number of times each battle phase up to the number of PURRELY Happy Memory attached to it +1. This is also the card in combination with its belonging XYZ monster, the PURRELY Happiness, which basically allows you to kill your opponent if the board situation is right. Because if you have read this correctly, then you might have realized that you can attack up to 4 times your opponent's monsters. We will come later to the point where I will explain you how this works in killing your opponent. Let's just look at the other cards. The first effect of the happy or pretty memory is each player gains 1000 life points, and then the next one is the same, discard one card, and if you do special summon one of these little cats here, note here that this discard one, that is a can effect, so you don't need to discard one, you can also activate this card and just don't discard, and I will talk about in a moment talk about why this can be important. And then the third effect is a PURRELY XYZ monster that has this card as material against the following effect. Once per turn, you can send one other card you control to the graveyard, then target one card your opponent controls and attach it to this card as material, which is super strong if you want to get rid of problematic cards from your opponent, or if you want to get additional materials under your PURRELY Noir. Then we have a Delicious Memory, which at the moment is one of the most important ones. This will be the most important one until we get the XYZ little cat for the sleepy memory, but for now, just keep in mind this is the most important one. You want to get this on your first turn. So this is your most important first turn spell, this is your second most important first turn spell, and these two are more like kill your opponent second turn spells. Though this can also be used on your first turn, and this is also important, or can be important, to kill your opponent on the second turn, but more to that in a moment. So, Delicious Memory. We have to choose one monster on the field, and until the end of the next turn it cannot be destroyed by battle. This is very important if you want to kill your opponent, because I will show you this in a moment, but you have to understand that you can change, or you can choose an attack position monster of your opponents and then basically make it so that it cannot be destroyed by battle. And as you might remember, this then allows you to attack up to 4 times into this monster, and I will talk about PURRELY Happiness in a moment, but this card is able to halve the attack of a monster it attacks every time it attacked. We will see this in the theory, in the scenario later in the video, and I think then it will become more clear. Then the next effect is the same, it's the discard effect, and then there is another effect, a PURRELY XYZ monster that has this card as material against the following effect, gains a 300 attack and defense for each material attached to it. So this makes your PURRELY cards bigger. This also, I mean, this card can still be destroyed by battle, right? Because it reads, this card is unaffected by your opponent's activated effects while it has 5 or more materials. So this can be destroyed by battle, it has a 2800 defense, but if there is a Delicious Memory under this, then it obviously has a lot of defense. I think I had a Noir on the field with 6900 defense, so then there are not a lot of cards that can battle over this, so this is quite nice. And then we have the last card, which says the next battle or effect damage you take this turn will become 0. This can come into play, though I think it's one of the, in comparison to the other 3 quick play spells, the first effect of this is the most uninteresting one. Then this also has the discard effect, we know that already, and this has then a PURRELY XYZ monster that has this card as material against the following effect. Once per turn during your opponent's standby phase, you can draw 1 card. Note here, and it's important to, so this allows you to basically draw 6 cards on your opponent's turn if you can. This is also why you want a lot of hand traps in your deck. Important to note here is that if, for example, you have your PURRELY Noir and there are 3 sleepy memories under it, you can activate this effect 3 times, because you can activate it once per card. This also counts for this one, also counts for this one, so having 3 pretty memory under something here would allow you to, if you have enough cards, attach 3 cards from your opponent's field to this as material. Same with the Delicious Memory. 3 Delicious Memory would give your XYZ monster 900 attack for each material attached to it. So this is also very strong and can enable you to kill your opponent. So these are the quick play spells. Then we have Infinite Impermanence here, and now let's just talk about the field spell, the My Friend, the traps, and then we come to the XYZ monsters. So the field spell is quite nice. For once, it's not a search something field spell, because everything basically is. Every field spell is a, oh, you can search this, you can search Weißer Starfrost. So this one says your opponent cannot target PURRELY monsters you control with card effects the turn they are special summoned. This is really impactful, because of course you may have a normal summon and then your opponent can then impermanence it, but if you summon, let's say you have played your street, you have this online, and then you summon one of your little cats with the quick play spells, then they are special summoned and cannot be targeted anymore. Same goes for the XYZ cats. So this protects you from cards like the Impermanence, because this targets. Obviously it does not protect you from cards like an Ash, or in the stream I had someone ask Raigeki. Raigeki doesn't target, so it doesn't protect you from that. But this is quite nice. If you can, you want to special summon your PURRELY most of the time, so it is protected from impermanence if you have the field spell on the field. And then the other cool effect is, once per turn, if a face-up PURRELY XYZ monster you control leaves the field because of an opponent's cards, then special summon a level 1 PURRELY monster from your deck or your graveyard. So for example, let's say you have a beauty on the field, or maybe your PURRELY Noir, and your opponent just outs the card, kills the card, and it leaves the field. Then you can, with this effect, and this is a mandatory effect, this will trigger, and you can't decide if it should trigger, can then summon either this or this from graveyard or the deck to the field, and thereby gain additional advantage, of course, because you then can get more cards to your hand. And then the third effect, which also is very important, once per turn during the end phase, either your end phase or your opponent's end phase, you can target one PURRELY XYZ monster on the field, for example your PURRELY Noir, and then you can attach one quick play spell from your deck or your graveyard to that monster. So let's say, for example, we want to draw a card on our opponent's standby phase. This is what Sleepy Memory lets us do. And let's say we have 2 of these under our PURRELY Noir. Then with the field spell online, we could add the third one under this as material and then draw 3 cards on our opponent's turn, for example. This is what the field spell does. And then this is the most important card, I would say, all in all. And this is the first card you want to search with your PURRELY. So remember, PURRELY is able to search you the field spell, my friend PURRELY, the trap, or another PURRELY. So it depends on what you want to search. Sometimes it can be correct to search a PURRELY because maybe you have special summoned this one, you already have your my friend, you might already have trap or the field spell, and then you could go for this to have another normal summon. But I think the priority in which you want to get these to hand is, this is priority number 1 with this search. You want to go this, search this, because this is able, and we will talk about this in a moment, to get you to basically every quick play spell that you want. And remember, we always want our delicious memory at our first turn. I will explain why in a moment. So you want to get this first. And then it depends. Some people will go for the trap, some people will go for the field spell. It depends on the situation that you are in. So you can, let's read this card. You can pay 500 life points, reveal 3 PURRELY cards from your deck except my friend PURRELY, so every other PURRELY card can be revealed. And your opponent randomly picks one for you to add to your hand, also shuffle the rest into your deck. So what this basically means is that if I wanted to get my delicious memory from deck to hand, and I would still have 3 delicious memories in the deck, I could then go reveal delicious, 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 and then I would be safe to get delicious, which I want to get. This is also the thing that I talked about with the pot earlier. If you can, you should go this first to get your delicious reveals on your first turn. So then you have delicious in your hand, and then you can use the pot. Because if you are unlucky, your pot banishes one of your delicious memories, and then you have to go, I don't know, delicious, delicious, sleepy, and then you have a 33% chance not to get the card that you want. But you can also reveal these cards if you want them. You can reveal the field spell, you can reveal the trap, and there is an argument to put the trap to 3, so you can 3 times reveal the trap if you really wanted to have the trap, and then safely getting it. This is definitely an argument you can make for putting the trap to 3 here. And then the other effect of this card is, and this is also, this is such an amazing effect, if a face-up PURRELY XYZ monster you control leaves the field because of an opponent's cards, so same thing as with the field spell at this moment, even during the damage step, you can add up to 3 PURRELY quick play spells with different names from your graveyard to your hand. So if, for example, you have your Noir, and the Noir has a Sleepy, a Beauty, a Happy, and a Delicious, everything, and it gets destroyed, then you can activate this to summon a level 1, and then you can also activate this, you don't have to, but you can activate this to add back, for example, a Happy, a Pretty, and a Delicious, or if you want to, a Sleepy, a Happy, and a Delicious, whatever you want to, right? But what you can also do, and this is really important to keep in mind, it's not only that your opponent can do this, you can do this as well. So let's, for example, say that you have your PURRELY Noir and it has no materials anymore, and you're like, oh, okay, now it's basically useless, or you have this one and you need more quick play spells. You have quick play spells in your grave and you need more quick play spells to do your plays, basically. What you can do then, if this is on your field, you can just go battle phase, because as it says here, this can also be done, where is it? This can also be done, where is this? Wasn't it in, you can add up to... even during the damage step. Okay, this is the sentence I was searching. So you can crash your own XYZs into opponent's monsters, destroy them, and then this also can activate, and you can add back 3 quick play spells. And this can be really important to get back materials to your hand to then kill your opponent. So keep in mind, really important thing here, to always keep in mind, you can use this on your turn to crash one of your XYZs to get material back from the graveyard to the hand. And then we have the trap. Have I forgotten something? No. Then I have the trap, which says target 1 PURRELY XYZ monster you control, special summon from your extra deck 1 PURRELY XYZ monster with a different rank. This is always X PURRELY Noir, because this is the only one with a different rank. These are all rank 2. With a different rank by using that target as material, but return it to the extra deck during the end phase of the next turn. And then this also says, second effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target up to 3 PURRELY monsters in your graveyard and shuffle them into the deck. So what you can do with this is, for example, let's say you have your E PURRELY Plump and you have 2 PURRELY Sleepy Memories under it or whatever. And then it can be the case, because you need 5 materials under your little cats, to rank them up into the big cat on your turn, because this says you can also XYZ summon this card by using a rank 2 monster you control with 5 or more materials. Otherwise, this would need 2 level 7 monsters, which we don't have any level 7 monsters in our deck. So this needs 5 materials, or an XYZ, a little cat with 5 materials, to be upgraded on your turn. But if you don't have 5 materials, you can then use the trap, because the trap can just upgrade this without 5 materials. Keep in mind though that this card also says this card is unaffected by your opponent's activated effects while it has 5 or more materials. So you might end up with an X PURRELY Noir with 4 materials, which enables the effect of X PURRELY Noir, which we will talk about in a moment, but this card will no longer be unaffected, so it can be destroyed by a targeting effect, or can even be targeted by a triple tactics talents to take, for example. So you can use this to rank up one of your little cats into the big cat. This is quite nice. And the second effect is also very important, because you have to understand that on your first turn, for example, in an ideal world, you want to go triple PURRELY summon and 1 PURRELY. Then you use them to make, for example, your Princess Sprite, which I will talk about in a moment, and you put them as material under your little cats, and then they might go to the graveyard. The problem is now that on your next turn, if you do not have cats in your deck, then you can't really use your quick play spells, and you can't really rank up into your XYZ monsters, because you have to understand that these cards enable you to play, because you need these cards to get into your extra deck monsters, which you need to win the game. So if these are in your graveyard because you have used them the turn before, that's a problem. And that is where the PURRELY comes into play, and you can use this to shuffle them back. So let's say, for example, you have used 1 PURRELY and 2 PURRELYs, and they are now in a graveyard. Then on end turn, you can use this, shuffle them back, and you have more cards to play on your next turn. Also keep in mind that sometimes Bestials will target these cards, because this is dark, this is light. A Bestial targets this in the graveyard, and what you can do then is activate this, shuffle it back, so the Bestial will not get summoned. Nice little thing here. Let's talk about the extra deck next. We have Slacker Magician, which needs 2 level 1 monsters, so you can make them with any of your normal summon monsters. And once per turn, this card cannot be destroyed by battle. So the basic idea is to make this run into something big, so you can then go into Downard, can go into a Zeus, so you basically know the line. I don't have to explain the Zeus line to you. I also don't have to explain Underworld Goddess. Azalea is nice in this deck, because you can use 2 light and or dark monsters, and then make your Azalea and destroy something on the field, and also you can target 1 card on the field, destroy it, then if you have 3 or less spells in your graveyard, send this card to the graveyard. Because you have a lot of spells and a lot of spells in your graveyard, this can also be on the field, can stay on the field, same as it would in a Sky Striker deck. So that is why this is quite nice, and definitely better than Donner Dagger Furhire. Then we have the Relinquished Anima, which basically needs 1 level 1 monster except token, so these all work. And if you know the card, you can just summon it in the extra monster zone, and if it points to a monster, it can attach the monster as material. So this can sometimes come up to clear a board or to take an opponent's monster that your opponent has summoned incorrectly. This can be nice to break a board, so it's definitely a nice card to have here. It's not a must, but it's really nice. Then we have Princess Sprite. Which this is a cool extender that you can use your PURRELYs or your PURRELYs that you didn't use on your turn to extend your plays. So let's for example say you have used your PURRELY and your Delicious Memory to rank up into your Plump. And in the process of doing that, you have summoned 2 PURRELYs onto your field, which maybe you don't have anything in your hand to rank them up in, and then they are basically useless on the field, right? Then you can use Princess Sprite, make the Princess Sprite, and then it says you can detach one XYZ material from this card, excavate the top card of your deck, and if it is a spell or trap, add it to your hand. Otherwise, send it to the graveyard. So you can make these to activate this effect, to maybe find another quick play spell, or maybe find a pot, find the field spell, impermanence, the trap, whatever. So you can see we have a lot of spells and traps here, and this is basically has a big chance of getting a spell or trap if you summon this, and this can extend your plays. So these are all the non-engine cards, and now we will talk about the engine card. But before, I want to show you one last card that you can put in here if you have it. That is the Lurlusk Ensemble Robin. This is also made by 2 level 1 monsters, so you can basically use this to extend your plays, or you can use this as an interruption on your opponent's turn. You can decide what you want to do. Though this is an ultra rare, if you want to craft it, you can. It's a nice card in this deck, but you obviously don't have to. It says gains 500 attack for each material attached to it. If your opponent special summons a monster, you can detach 1 material from this card, then target one of those special summoned monsters, return it to the hand. Okay, so that's quite nice. You can have a bounce on a special summoned monster. So you would either use your PURRELYs to make this one, or you would use them to make this one and extend. In a perfect world, you would put this in also. You would have both of them in, and maybe put the goddess out then, because then you can decide whether you want an additional interruption or you want another search. Which I am happy with this. I don't want to craft this right now, but you can obviously. So now let's talk about the XYZs. We have these 3 XYZs, right? Plump, Beauty, and Happiness. So Plump is our first turn monster because it is the best one in getting material under this, so we can get into a boss monster. And the other 2 are more like playing on the second turn, especially the Happiness. This is a monster negate, so you can make it on your first turn, and this is definitely the card that you want to do on your second turn. So the Happiness corresponds to the Happy Memory. Makes sense, right? The Beauty is Pretty Memory, and the Plump is Delicious Memory. And then in the future, we will get an additional XYZ, the PURRELY Noir, which then corresponds to the Sleepy Memory. So if you want to make a Happiness, you would need a Happy Memory either in hand or grave to target with PURRELY or PURRELY. If you want to make a Beauty, you would need either Pretty Memory in hand or grave, and if you want to make the Plump, you want to have the Delicious Memory. Let's first talk about Plump, which is the one we want to make on our first turn. This says it needs 2 level 2 monsters, but that's not the way we are making it. It says, once per turn, you can target up to 2 spells and trap in the graveyard, attach them to this card as material. And you can also attach cards from your opponent's graveyard. So this is why we want to make this monster on our first turn, because our goal is it to make an PURRELY XYZ with at least 5 materials, so we can make our PURRELY Noir, or at least to have as many materials under us as possible. And if we can, we want to have 3 Sleepy Memories under it on our first turn, so we can use the draw 3 effect. Or if we use this, we can also draw 6, which I will explain in a moment. So back to this one here. So it can attach 2 spells and trap to this as material, and then, and this is the same for every little cat, this is a quick effect if this card has PURRELY Delicious Memory as material. So all of their effects are quick effects when they have the quick play spell attached to them that belongs to them, in this case Delicious Memory. And then this has the additional effect, and the effect that comes now is the same for every little cat, but the last phrase is different. Up to thrice per turn, so 3 times. When you activate a PURRELY quick play spell card, quick effect, you can attach that card on the field to this card as material, and then, this is like different for any of the little cats, then you can banish 1 monster on the field until the end phase. So what you can do is you can get additional material under this card by activating the quick play spells, then saying, yes, I want to attach this quick play spell, and then this quick play spell, for example, the Happy Memory, will be attached to the Plump. And then you can still decide here, you don't have to remember this, you can still decide if you want to do this part here, the discard 1, and summon one of these, because sometimes you want to do this and sometimes you don't. Then you have the Beauty, which is your monster negate, and says once per turn you can target one effect monster your opponent controls, negates its effect until the end of this turn, and this is a quick effect if this card has poorly pretty memory as material. And then the same here, up to thrice per turn when you activate a quick play spell you can attach that, and as a bonus effect, once you attach something you have the bonus effect off, then you can change the battle position of one monster your opponent controls. This can come up on a second turn when you want to kill your opponent. So for example, let's say he has a defense position monster that you want to switch to attack position, so you can attack into it with your happiness. Then you could use this, attach one card to this, and then you can change the battle position. The third monster is the PURRELY happiness. At the end of the damage step, if this card has battled, you can add one PURRELY card from your deck to your hand. Also, if this card has PURRELY happy memory as material, you can halve the attack of one face-up monster on the field. So this one works a bit different. This is the one that enables you to kill your opponent. So let's just talk about this, but I will show you this in a moment as well. The happy memory, which is the spell that corresponds to the happiness, allows you to attack up to the number of PURRELY happy memories attached to it +1. So what you can do here is you can attack with this, and then this effect triggers at the end of the damage step. If this card battled, you can add one PURRELY card from your deck to your hand. So then you would add another happy memory. Then you can, in battle phase, because this is a quick play spell, activate this. Then you can activate this up to thrice per turn effect, attach the next happy memory, and then you would be able to attack once again. Also, you can halve the attack of one of your opponent's monsters. So just to talk this through, but I will show you this, you can use the delicious memory to choose one monster on the field, and until the end of the next turn it cannot be destroyed by battle. So you choose an opponent's monster, it cannot be destroyed by battle. Maybe you also use your beauty to change it to attack position, and what you can then do is you make your PURRELY happiness, you get your happy memories as material under this, and then you can attack 4 times into your opponent's monster that is in attack position and can't be destroyed. And each time you attack, you can get the next happy memory from your deck to your hand, attach this so it can attack again, and every time it does attack, it can also halve the attack of the opponent's monsters. So this is how you can kill your opponent in one turn. And it's also nice to get, for example, a delicious memory under your happiness, because this, remember, gets you more attack and defense. So this has 2000, that is a lot, but this can also go up to, I don't know, if you have 4 materials under this, this can go up to 3200, and then it's pretty easy to kill your opponent. But we will look at this in a moment. It's a bit complicated to explain, it's easier to see. And then let's talk about the last thing here, the last card, the PURRELY Noir, the boss monster, 2 level 7 monsters. I already talked about this, we're not making this with 2 level 7 monsters. Let's read this again. You can also XYZ summon this card by using a rank 2 monster you control with 5 or more materials, so any of these. But this is the easiest one to get materials under, so this is why we want to make this one on our first turn. Then we already know this card is unaffected by your opponent's activated effects while it has 5 or more materials, and then this is a really cool effect. You can detach 2 materials from this card, then target 1 card your opponent controls or in the graveyard, place it on the bottom of the deck. This is a quick effect if this card has a level 1 PURRELY monster as material, which is, it has always, because if you want to make any of the little cats, you would make them with these, because they rank up into the little cats. The little cats can, with 5 materials, rank up into this, or with the trap can rank up into this. So you will always have a level 1 PURRELY under this. Just keep in mind that if you use the second effect here to detach 2 materials, never detach your rank 1 monster, because then this is no longer a quick effect on your opponent's turn. So let's, for example, say you have 9 materials under this, then you could use, or you could spin 2 cards of your opponent's back to the bottom of the deck, and this card would, with 5 materials, still be unaffected. Always keep in mind that if this has 5 or more materials, this is unaffected, meaning it can only be destroyed by a kaiju, underworld goddess. What else could destroy it? So a kaiju tributing it, lava golem, stuff like this, underworld goddess, or it can be battled over by different monsters. This is also a thing, because I mean, keep in mind, this will probably have a delicious memory under it, because we want to make it with PURRELY Plump, and PURRELY Plump already has delicious memory under it. So you will have this boss monster with a lot of defense, and it's pretty hard to out this card. There are some other cards that can out it, but your opponent basically has to play some extra outs to get rid of this. And something like Underworld Goddess, your opponent would need 4 cards, 4 monsters on the field, and you have the abilities to spin stuff back into his deck. Okay, I think these are all the cards. I know it seems quite complicated, and to be honest, it is. It's not an easy deck, it's a complicated deck. You really have to understand how all of this stuff works together, but I will show you that now in a few demonstrations. Before I do that, I want to quickly talk about tech options. So I think tech options, you can change these pots, and I've also seen Solemn Yu-Gi-Oh! Had also a nice video. He just played Duel and Lockbirds in here. And the idea, the reasoning was, so he just played Duel and Lockbirds, where I play the Infinite Impermanence. And I think the reasoning is quite sound, because you can go and draw 6 cards on your opponent's turn. You can achieve this if you have, for example, your Plump. Your Plump has 3 Sleepy Memories under it, so you can now draw 3 times. And then you can draw 3 times, then you can use your PURRELY Heap, go into your X PURRELY Noir, which then also has this 3 under it, but because it's a new monster, you can activate them again. So you could draw 6 cards on your opponent's turn in an optimal case, which most of the time we won't be able to. You will be more able to do that when the next monster comes out, because the next monster is more easily able to be played with the Sleepy Memory. For now it's not that easy, but in that world obviously it makes sense to draw a Duel and Lockbird over an Imperm, because on your opponent's turn you already have cards on your field, so you cannot activate the Imperm, right? But you can activate Duel and Lockbird, which is also quite nice against PURRELY. So let's just put this out again. The argument for playing the Imperms, for example, is if you go Sylvan Princess Bride, because this is a monster and you get up your chances of getting something from the Princess Bride by having these traps in instead of this monster. But you can argue one way, or you could argue the other way. Then, as I already talked about, you could change these up for triple tactic talents. You could put an effect Veiler here instead of the Nibiru, but you could also bump this up to more Nibirus if you're feeling you need it. Or you could go crossout designator. You could put in some Called by the Graves, for example, for these cards here. That is definitely flexible. I think that you want to play basically the maximal PURRELY card package here. Not the third Yeep, I think, in my opinion. Yeah, but I think this list is close to a nice list. You can play it differently with the Duel and Lockbird, for example. We will have to see how this will develop if a lot of people play Duel and Lockbird. If a lot of people play Duel and Lockbird, you should also start playing your quick play spells on your draw phase. So you can put this little toggle bar, I will show you in a moment, on, and then you can just use your quick play spells in your draw phase, because this can only be activated in the main phase. If a lot of people play Duel and Lockbird, main them, then you should start doing this in draw phase. In the end, it's a good habit to do this in draw phase, so you basically should always do it in draw phase, but sometimes there are situations in which you don't want to start with your quick play spells, but you want to start with, for example, your My Friend or your normal summons. So it really depends. That's all for the cards. Let's just hop right into some test hands so I can show you what the deck wants to accomplish. Okay guys, let's look at some hands here, and this is a pretty bad one, but let's just see what we can do here, and that's not a lot. We have the field spell at 2 here, a Nip and an Imperm, and note here that we cannot activate this quick play spell because we have to choose 1 card on the field. Otherwise we can't activate it. So let's start with playing the field spell. The thing that's nice with the field spell is the fact that now our special summon monsters will be protected from Imperm, but obviously our opponent won't do that. So next thing you want to do here is activate the quick play spell. We target this, so this is protected until the end of next turn. This can be very important, keep that in mind. And now let's just get rid of the second field spell. And the first priority is basically always your PURRELY. Sometimes you will just normal summon PURRELY if it's the only card in your hand, if it's your normal summon. But yeah, and as I talked about, we can now grab PURRELY, which we have a normal summon left, so we could, and we can get My Friend PURRELY, the trap, or field spell. I mean, we have the field spell, so it doesn't make any sense. We will grab My Friend PURRELY, and you basically always want to grab this, because this is your guaranteed way of getting the delicious memory to hand. Let's just activate this. We don't want to activate the PURRELY here, because otherwise we would need to rank up into happiness, because there's happy memory in the grave. This we don't want to do. Activate this, pay 500, and now we can reveal 3 cards and add 1 at random to hand. So now what you want to do here is reveal 3 times delicious memory. We have to see how far we can get here, because our hand isn't the greatest. in this case, we want, because this only can rank up from the graveyard, get this into the graveyard. So we activate this, and at this point, it definitely makes sense to discard a card to summon another monster. So this asks us now which monster we want to protect, so it cannot be destroyed by battle. We choose this one, it doesn't really matter. And now you're being asked, discard one card, and if you do, special summon one level 1 PURRELY monster from your deck. In this case, we want to, it makes sense. We are getting rid of the nib because obviously this is the most important card that we want to keep in our hand if possible. And now, because we already have used this one, we will summon a PURRELY. PURRELY's effect will activate, excavate the top 3, and hopefully we will hit something. Sleepy, Delicious, and My Friend. Awesome. We can add any one of them. We have a My Friend already. We have a Delicious in the grave, which we can use with the PURRELY to upgrade. So we can grab a Sleepy, because remember, this is the second most important card. You definitely need one Delicious memory. This is the one that we are mostly getting from My Friend PURRELY to be safe. And then in an optimal world, you will want more Sleepy memories under your plump. So now we can use the effect. You can target both of them, but we want the plump. Remember, you want to make the plump. We don't want to chain this right now, but you could also put this in the defense position. Doesn't really matter, but it has a lot of defense. And now you can see we have our plump, which has 2 materials right now. This also has the effect. Once per turn, you can target up to 2 spells traps in the graveyards and attach them to this as material. We can do this already, so why not? Let's just do it, because we can attach these to this as material. Note here that the really important ones at this moment are the Delicious memory, because this gives us the attack and defense boost that you can see here, and the other important one is the Sleepy memory, because this will enable us to draw on our opponent's turn. We have the Happy memory, which is an attack thing, but obviously we can't attack on our first turn, so that's not important right now. So this is the situation we are in. So this will enable us in the end phase to attach another material to the plump from the deck. So we are getting another Sleepy memory to this. Keep that in mind. But what we want to accomplish now is, this is 4 materials. We need another material under this to rank this up into our boss monster here. So what we are doing now is we're activating the Sleepy memory. And now we can chain this effect to attach this to this as material. Let's do this. This will happen now, and now this has 5 materials. Now we can banish a card. This is the thing that you can read down here. When we attach a quick play spell, we can banish one card. We don't want to do this right now, until the end phase, by the way. And now we are once again asked if we want to do this here. And now there's a decision point to make here, right? We could discard the Infinite Impermanence, summon another PURRELY, reveal more cards, maybe hit another Sleepy memory to get under this, because remember that little cats can up to thrice per turn, 3 times, add a quick play spell to them, which that would be nice. We then could also use the PURRELYs to go into the Princess Sprite. Where is it? It's here, to reveal another card from the deck, and maybe we will hit another PURRELY spell, or we could be safe and just have the Infinite Impermanence, which is a negation on our opponent's turn. I think in this position I would keep the Infinite Impermanence, but just to show what this deck can do, let's just say yes and discard this. In this case we would summon another PURRELY, because remember, this is not once per turn. We will activate this effect, reveal top 3, there is the street, there is a pot and another PURRELY. We cannot add the PURRELY, we can only add spells and traps, so we can add another street. As you can see right here, this is not that important right now, so we can now go into our Princess Sprite. If you had the Robin that I have showed you, you could also go into the Robin, so you have another special summon negate. Now we activate this, look at the top card of our deck, and if it's a spell or trap, we can add it to our hand. We get the Yeep. This is quite nice, so we have 2 additional cards, though keep in mind the Yeep is not really useful right now, because we will now manually rank up this into our boss monster. And now we have our ex-PURRELY Noir on the field. This has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 materials, so we can spin back our opponent's cards 3 times, but we are only protected from being like affected by cards. If we have 5 or more materials, keep that in mind. And now we can just pass our turn, we can activate this in the end phase, attach a material to this, and we will get the Sleepy memory to this. So now we have 7 materials. Our opponent's turn, and you can see this has 4900 attack. Now in the standby phase we can activate 1 Sleepy memory to draw a card, and another Sleepy memory to draw an additional card. And now just to explain this to you, let me just let him just finish his plays. Let's say we had the Delicious, the plump still on the field. and the plump would have these materials under it. So then in standby phase we could have drawn 2, and if we then would have set the trap, we could then rank up the plump on our opponent's turn into this one here, and then we could have drawn an additional 2 cards, so 4 in total. So let's just, I want to show you what this card does here. So you activate this, then you can now can decide what you want to detach. Keep in mind, never detach this, because then this is no longer a quick effect. In my opinion, it makes sense to detach the XYZ because you don't really need it. And in my opinion, in this case you would detach the field spell, but let's quickly talk about what I think should be detached from here. So Delicious Memory should not be detached, because this is the one that gives you the defense and the attack, so this cannot be battled over. The Happy Memory I would keep, because this in theory enables you next turn to attack multiple times and get more materials to hand. I would suggest getting rid of the Sleepy Memory, because the thing is, the Sleepy Memory, it is nice, but the Sleepy Memory will only be relevant on your opponent's next turn. So we can detach that now, and then you can choose this card from the graveyard and spin it back on the bottom of the deck. So this is why I like to detach the Sleepy, because on my next turn Sleepy is useless, and I basically want to win on my next turn, right? So the question remains if I get another turn to use the Sleepy Memory to once again draw. This is why I will most of the time detach the Sleepy, but in this case obviously you wanted to detach the field spell, so I just wanted to show you this. And then you can spin back as many cards as your opponent plays, but right now we would still be unaffected. We have 5 materials, you can see this here, but yeah, you can spin more cards, but that's not interesting. So let's retry and look at another hand, and I will show you how to play another hand. So the theory is basically always the same. So this is what you want to do. You can also play it a bit differently and focus more on the trap and not try to rank up the plump on your turn, but try to rank it up on your opponent's turn. Okay, so look at this. Let's look at this hand. We have Double Delicious, which this is nice. We want this card. We have a Pretty Memory, which we don't. I mean, we can make a Monster Negate if we keep this in our hand, but we will have to see. We could start with the Pretty here just to bait an Ash, but most people won't Ash this. So what we also could do, maybe he would Ash, we could summon a PURRELY or a PURRELY, and then he would maybe Ash them, because my friend PURRELY is the one we don't want to get Ashed. But let's start with my friend here. In this case, I think there are different lines, right? Because we have Double Delicious, so Delicious we don't need to search. And here it really depends. You could go triple PURRELY, triple these if you want a normal summon, a good normal summon. You could go for your field spell. You could also go for the trap, or you could go for the Sleepy Memory just to have it as material for your end boss monster. In this case, let's go for triple PURRELY to have this as a normal summon. And if, for example, our opponent now imperms the PURRELY, that's alright, because the most important card that we wanted to get, the My Friend PURRELY, is already on our field. And once again, you have to decide, do you want to play this trap variant, where you try to rank up your plump into your opponent's turn to draw more cards, or do you want to basically make your end boss monster on your turn? The advantage to making it on your turn is that it will stay on the field, because remember, if you use the trap to rank it up, then it will go back into the extra deck on your end phase, your next end phase, which this can be fine. You can overlay it into a Zeus, but let's just say we go with the field spell here. I like the field play spell. Then we can activate this to protect our future little PURRELYs that we will summon now, and then we can use one of our Delicious Memories. We target this, and then we discard a card. We can get rid of the Pretty here and summon a PURRELY, which now can activate its effect to reveal My Friend, a pot, and a Happy. That's nice. In this case, I would grab the Happy. We can now... So we can now decide basically to use this from the graveyard or this from the hand, because our hand materials are worth more. We will try to rank up from the graveyard. So go into our plump. You want to go into the plump or whatever you are doing before you activate further quick play spells, because now I can attach the quick play spells to the plump, right? I could now go make a Happy and make another Delicious, but doesn't make any sense. So we're activating the Delicious here. We are activating this to attach this as material, and now keep in mind that this is the effect to attach as material, the second one, and this is the effect to attach 2 spells and traps, up to 2 spells and traps from the graveyard. This is something we don't want to do right now because we only have 1 in the graveyard at this moment. So we will choose this. And now once again we will have to think about whether we want to summon another PURRELY. In this case I think we don't want to banish here, it makes sense, and we will target a monster that is indestructible by battle this turn, and then now we can discard. I think it made sense because we can discard this. Now we have 2 of them in the grave which can be attached to this, and we can summon an additional PURRELY, and now we can also go into our Princess Bride or maybe into your Robin if you have it. Also we can activate this and maybe grab, I don't know, another important card. Another memory, nice. There is a Sleepy, that's nice. You want to get the Sleepy over the other cards on your first turn. We can now put these back, activate the Plump, take these and put it under this as material. Keep in mind that, for example, if your opponent would have cards on his field right now, you could use the Pretty Memories effect, send one of your cards to the graveyard and then attach something to this as material. But we will talk about this in a moment when we go second. We can now go Princess Bride once again. Keep in mind you can also go Robin here if you have it, and see what we can get here. Maybe it makes sense to summon another PURRELY, though probably not. Okay, we get the Yeep, that's nice. Once again, we don't really need it here. We can activate this because we have used this effect to attach a card, I think, once. This one, yeah, we have activated once, so we could activate it 2 more times after this, or 1 more time after this. You can activate this thrice per turn. Just take this and to this as material, and in this case don't want to banish. And I mean, we could discard the Yeep and summon another PURRELY and maybe get another quick play spell to the hand or something. Maybe another Sleepy Memory. The Yeep would also be nice to have in grave, because then, as I told you, we can use the Yeep to get back our little PURRELYs for our next turn. So let's just say we are doing this. And then we can say this, can summon the last PURRELY in defense position here. Activate the effect and maybe we get another quick play spell. Which, that would be nice. We get a Happy Memory. That's nice, we add it to hand, and then once again we can up to thrice per turn, so 1 time is left here. We can use this. Chain the Plump here. Yes. Attach this as material. And now we have a 7 material Plump. We don't want to summon now, we don't want to banish, and don't want to discard and summon. No. So now, by the way, a little mistake here. I should have with the effect of the Happy Memory to protect, I should have protected the My Friend PURRELY. This can come up if, for example, your opponent wants to destroy a card on your field that you want to keep. You can chain the Happy Memory, target the card, and then protect it. So this can really be an important effect. So we now will use this to rank up into our Noir, which this has 8 materials now and has a Sleepy Memory. Now we go end phase, activate our field spell to get another Sleepy Memory under this as material. You know the drill. And now on our opponent's standby phase, we can now activate this, draw 2, this, draw 2, and now we can spin a lot of our opponent's cards. He once again goes for the Thunder Dragon, but yeah. As you can see, we can now spin cards again. We have this to shuffle 3 PURRELY monsters back into our deck. Obviously, we would wait until this is in the grave and maybe the XYZ from this is in the grave. But yeah, you can see this hand basically ended on the same stuff here. So let's just look at another hand, and maybe we can play a hand with the trap so I can also show you the trap interaction. But I hope you understand that this is basically what you want to do. So your priorities are to get your PURRELY, to get your My Friend PURRELY. My Friend PURRELY guarantees you access to Delicious Memory. And then you want to summon as many PURRELYs as it makes sense to get more PURRELY cards, especially quick play spells, to your hand, so you can make your Plump bigger. So this is the game plan, okay? So let's look at this. We can start with the, okay, in this case, this is what I talked about in the deck profile. You could activate the Pot of Desires now, but there is the danger that you banish your Delicious Memories. What you can do here to be safe is to play your PURRELY. Obviously this can get ashed and can get impermed, but let's just, I want to show you the logic behind this. Get your My Friend to the hand and then activate My Friend, because My Friend's job is basically to get your Delicious Memory to the hand. Then you can choose triple delish, which now we will get the triple delish. Now we have it, and now we can activate the pot, right? Okay, we have banished one of the traps, but maybe we will be able to get into another trap. Let's see. So this is our situation now. Now we want to get the delish in the grave, and we would also want to summon more Purrelys. So we can select this so it can't be destroyed by battle this turn. Not really important, but yeah. We want to discard. We can discard the other pot here if we wanted to summon a Purrely. Notice that we have also banished a Purrely here, so we only have 2 Purrelys for this turn. Let's see if we can do the trap thing. Okay, we are getting this, so we can now decide between another quick play spell and the street. And now comes the point at which you have to think a bit about your plays, because what we want to do here is use the Purrely to use this to get into our Plump. Then Plump could attach these here, for example, and then we would already have 4 materials under Plump. And together with these in the hand, we would then have enough materials to go into our Big Noir. So we don't really need another quick play spell. So let's just grab the street here, because street obviously is also able to get us the sleepy memory. So it makes more sense most of the time to get the street, because street is a guaranteed sleepy memory under your XYZ, while getting the happy memory is just a happy memory. It's a material that's not that important. So now we definitely want another Purrely so we can use the Princess Bite, right? But let's first rank up. And you can remember this, please. I'm not showing this now, but you have to remember this. You can also use this to rank up, but then it's from the hand. So what we can do here is, let me show you this. This is a different line. We can, we want to do this to attach this, because then we draw cards. Always keep in mind this here, though at this moment it's okay, because we have 2 cards in the grave, so activating this would be okay. We don't want to banish, and now we have to decide what we want to do. In this case, I would say yes and discard the pretty memory, because I have 3 materials under this, and this can still activate the effect to attach 2 more, so we have 5 under it. It's done. But what you could also do is maybe like get rid of something else, or just keep all the cards. So say no at this point. I already said yes, but you could say no and then just use the Purrely to rank up into your beauty. And remember, your beauty is a monster negate. You could also do. Then you had your boss monster, a monster negate, and Maxine and Ash. So just to continue this play, so we can see more plays, just let's make this here. But you could have done that also. Keep that in mind. Get happy, get this one, get the trap. Okay, now I will show you the trap line. Now we can make the trap work, because there is one thing that you have to keep in mind when activating traps effect. Obviously, you will always want to add the quick play spells if you can instead of a pot, but it doesn't matter. In this case, the pot is fine. So now, obviously, we could just go into our boss monster here. We can also just now go into our level 1 XYZ thingy here, either your Robin or your Princess Bride, to get an additional card or an additional interruption, depending on what you want to do here. Let's see, we get a nip, okay, unfortunate. So now let's just not make our boss monster and go the trap way. I would suggest putting this on and then just passing over to our opponent. And of course we can add another sleepy memory to this as material. So once again we can draw 2. In this case we can even draw 4 cards. So we are passing over to our opponent. It's draw phase, it's standby phase, and now you want, so this here is the effect of Plump to attach stuff from the graveyard, which this can be quite nice doing this before you rank up, because then this has even more materials, right? And now you can activate these here. We have already seen this. We will activate this, and this is now on effect resolution. This is once again this effect to attach spells. So you click once again, right, and now you can activate this once again. So we draw another card. And then I would suggest on effect resolution activating the Plump effect to get this pot under this. And then we can also chain the trap, target this. And then we will get our big guy, but keep in mind that the big guy will go back to the extra deck at the end of our next turn. Okay, now this is effect resolution. We don't want to do anything on effect resolution. And now once again we have the opportunity to draw cards. Click this away. We want to do nothing on effect resolution. Here is the standby phase effect. And now we can see we have drawn 4 cards. So In this situation, I think it was better to use the trap because we were also able to get an additional material under it. This is also an advantage that going the trap way has, because the plump is still on the field on your opponent's turn. You can then activate Plump's effect again to get more material under it. Now we have this PURRELY Noir with 7 materials, have drawn 4 cards. We could have also drawn 6. And in this case, it would be better to have Droll and Lockbirds here instead of the Imperms, like I mentioned in the deck profile. But the rest is basically the same. So these are the 2 ways that you can go for. You can go the I rank my PURRELY Noir up on my turn play, or you can make the I do the trap play. Both of them have advantages and disadvantages, and it really depends on what you have available to you, right? Because you can't always guarantee access to your trap, and if you can't get your trap, then just rank this up manually via 5 materials, right? The other good thing is that maybe your opponent wants to like book your PURRELY Plump, right? And then you can just use the trap to rank this up and go into the PURRELY Noir and then dodge a negation of your opponent's. This can also be a nice thing about having this on your opponent's board when his turn starts, but keep in mind that then you have a Plump which can be destroyed, and if you start with this on your opponent's turn, it's already unaffected. So disadvantages, advantages, you will really have to play out the hand that you get. So let's just for fun do one more for going first hand. I think you have caught up now what you can do. There are always different lines and you have to decide how to play different things. Let's just look at another going first hand and then we will hop into some going second hands. And always keep in mind, I don't do it right now, but it is a good habit to just play on your opponent's, on your own draw phase. If you want to do that, or your standby phase, if you want to do that, just put this on, then you will have the opportunity to do so. Okay? So, okay, we have my friend, we have the PURRELY. In this case, I would start with the PURRELY. Maybe we can catch an Ash here, because we don't want to get this ashed, right? And once again, now we can basically decide, do we want the field spell, or do we want this? Doesn't make any sense, because we have normal summon. These doesn't make sense. So it's basically field spell or the trap. Field spell or trap, you have to decide. Let's get the trap, for example. Now we can go my friend, activate the my friend, and obviously what you want to get here is access to your Delish. By the way, if you can't get your Delicious memory to your hand because, I don't know, he destroys this or ashes this, then it does not really matter which one you make to like amass materials. But if you can't get Delicious, then the trap becomes even more important. But obviously the negation with the pretty memory is worth more than the happiness. Though if you just rank them up into the boss monster with the trap afterwards, it doesn't really matter. Then you have to use the monster that you can get to amass materials. But then the trap becomes more important, because with the other ones, the happiness and the beauty, it's way harder to get 5 materials under this. So you might only get like 3 materials under this, and then you can use the trap to at least have your boss monster and have 1 on it, 2 spins. So that could also be fine. So in the case that you can't get your Delicious memory, the trap becomes more important, okay? So let's get this to the grave here. We target this to not be destroyable, and then we can discard now. And once again, we could decide to keep this in hand because we will get a PURRELY and could then rank this up into the beauty. Though we want to keep our Ash, we want our impermanence, and once again, let's do a trap play here. So let's get rid of this. But you can already see there are different lines you can go for, and you have to decide what you want to do. Let's see if we can hit something here, but sometimes you just miss, and then we have to decide differently. Like in this case, we have missed, so we won't get a card to hand. And now we can obviously rank up into our Plump here. This will probably be an end board that's worse. And in an optimal world, so it would have been nice to have one of these in the grave, so we can attach that. Unfortunately now we will have to activate this and just attach 1 card. So this is the situation I just talked about. We would put this here, and then pass over to our opponents. We have unfortunately no sleepy memory under this, so we can't draw on our opponent's turn. But what we can do, and you can wait for this, right? You can wait until maybe your opponent targets this card, and then you can chain your Yeep, or you can just activate your Yeep if you want the interruptions from your boss monster. You can also keep that in mind. I just barely missed it. You can also activate this effect, of course, before you rank this up. We can get this Raigeki Breaker, or Raigeki Break, how is it called? Under this, we could also could have activated the Imperm here, then we could have had another material under it, but yeah. And now we can go into our Noir. Remember, because of the trap, this will go back into the extra deck. This has 5 materials, is unaffected now, and we have 2 spins basically until we can spin no more, and this is no longer unaffected. And always keep in mind that if this leaves the field because of your opponent's effects, then we will get the My Friend PURRELY trigger, and we will get our quick play spells that are now under this back to our hand. Okay, so this is how this hand played out. So now let's just hop right into going second games so you can understand how to kill your opponent on his turn. So guys, let me show you how you can kill your opponent on one turn going second. There are a few things that have to go right for this to be able to happen. So you basically need or want access to your happy memory. This is the important one. You could go PURRELY into your My Friend PURRELY into search your happy memory, and then you would also, if you only have happy memory, you would also need one additional monster on your opponent's board, for example this Treeborn Frog now, and then a monster in attack position, for example this Mathematician now. If there was only the Mathematician, then you would also need on your starting hand the PURRELY Delicious memory, because then you would need to make this indestructible by battle early on. So let's just imagine we didn't have these cards in hand, so only the PURRELY happy memory and one card to discard, obviously, because we are missing the card right now. Whatever you make indestructible here doesn't really matter. Then we need to discard just to have our PURRELY, so we can go into our happy memory goes to grave, and we don't even need to activate this. And now we can go into our happiness here, and this is the monster that can do the OTK. Remember, this can attack because of the happy memory now twice, and as many times as you have happy memory attached to this +1. So in overall you can attack 4 times. We can now attack twice, and every time we attack at the end of the damage step, we can then search a PURRELY quick play spell or a PURRELY card in general, but we will search a PURRELY quick play spell. And then also, because we have this as material, we can halve the attack of one of our opponent's monsters. Okay, so let's just imagine we don't have anything here in hand, not the Delicious memory. If say this again, if he only had one monster on the field, we would need the Delicious memory now, and then you would start a bit different. Then you would start here with the Delicious memory, make the one monster he has indestructible, attach this Delicious memory to this, and then continue from here on. But let's just say he has this 3 monsters like he has here, and let's imagine we don't have anything in our hand. So we attack one monster here that we can destroy, this one, and now after damage calculation we are able to activate this effect and search ourselves a card. In this case we will search our Delicious memory, and yeah, we now want to halve the attack of the remaining monster that we want to attack into. And now that we have the Delicious memory searched from our 1-card combo, we now want to activate this. Now we can activate your happiness to attach this as material, and we don't need to like discard and summon more monsters. We don't need to do that. So now, because of the Delicious, you can see we have a lot more attack. And now we can select one monster that cannot be destroyed by battle this turn, and we select the monster that we continually want to attack into, right? So then we can attack again, because we, remember, have one of the happy memories and our normal attack. So we attack here into this cannot be destroyed by battle. We activate this again, because we can once again search something, and now we need an additional attack, so we need a happy memory. We go happy here. We want to halve the attack of this monster, then we want to activate happy, and every time we do this, we can then attach this. This will gain an additional attack, halve the attack of this, and gain more attack because of our Delicious memory here. So we can now choose once again a card here, and then say no to this, and then once again attack into this here. And now at the end of the damage step, for the last time, because we have added 2 play spells, 2 quick play spells to the happiness, we can once again search. Keep in mind that you can search once after this, because we will attack again, but you cannot add an additional time. This is the last time that we can put something to this as material. We will activate this, put this as material, so we have done this thrice per turn. And now we can go for the lethal blow. As you can see, we now can once again select something to not destroy. We don't want to do this, and now we could attack here, and as you can see, this would be the lethal blow. Okay, so this is the combo that you can use to kill your opponent. Just remember that you would want to start with your happy memory, then you want to get your Delicious, so this has more attack, and you need 2 monsters for this to work. If you only has 1 monster, you need Delicious in hand, so you can make it indestructible at the first attack, because this only gives you bonus attack against monsters, not against your opponent in general. So this is why this needs to be indestructible, and if you only has has one, this one has to be indestructible from the beginning of the combo, right? So attacking here would basically kill him. Keep in mind though that going second you can also pretty easily go for Zeus clear the board, because you have to understand that most decks need 2 monsters to make Zeus. You need 2 monsters, then you make, I don't know, your gigantic sprite attack and then Zeus. But this deck only needs 1, because 1 PURRELY is enough to rank up into an XYZ like we did here. And if like a simple attack would have been enough to now make a Zeus. We could now go main phase 2, make a Zeus that had in theory like 6 materials, so we can use it 3 times, sorry. What you can also do if you're not able to like kill your opponent, you could also at some point attach a pretty memory to this to then activate and get an additional material under this, because attaching a pretty memory to this would get you another material, pretty memory, and then you can, if you have, for example, I don't know, your sleepy set here on the field, we are still in battle phase, sleepy set here on the field, you could then get the sleepy to the graveyard and attach another one to the happiness. This would be useful if you can't kill your opponent, because sometimes there's a situation in which you can't. And the other good thing that you could do would be to just go into main phase 2, make the beauty play, which I just talked about, and then go into a big PURRELY Noir, which is unaffected. So these are basically your 3 options when going second. So you have a Zeus option that is basically always available, a pretty easy Zeus option. You can decide whether you want to make a quick Zeus with like 2 or 4 materials, or a big Zeus, which you could make now after you have done this here. Then the other option, if the field presents itself and is the right way, you can just go and kill him now. Keep in mind though that if the thing has over 2000 attack, it can be complicated. Also keep in mind, if he has 2 cards, you only need happy. If he has 1 monster, you then need delicious at the beginning. Or you could just try to, for example, with your happiness and a beauty under it, get rid of problematic cards from your opponent, amass material under this, though you could obviously also use like a plump, and then could go into your boss monster, the Noir, if you can't finish him this turn and want just to make a big boss monster that he cannot battle over. So I think these are the 3 options that you have going second. And now, just for good measure, let's just kill him. And remember that after this attack, if we would not kill him here, we would then be able to search another PURRELY card. So you could also go, I mean, we could search the beauty now, but we can't attach it because we have thrice attached already. But you could search, I don't know, a My Friend for follow-up, or a PURRELY, or the field spell, so you can attach something to the big Noir that you make. So there are a lot of places available, but this is the basic idea for killing your opponent on your second turn. Keep in mind also, and I have mentioned this in the deck profile, that if your opponent only has a monster in defense position, you could just make a beauty, because after beauty attaches something to it as material, you can change the battle position of a monster. Though that would need you to have more stuff, otherwise it would not work. So with a simple happy memory, this wouldn't work. Then you would need more stuff to set it up, but this is also an option. And yeah, guys, we are basically at the end of our little guide here. Let's just hop right in over to the list again. I hope you liked this. If you did, then please consider subscribing, hitting thumbs up, and what is the other thing? Yeah, activate the notification bell. It's crazy how long it takes to go back into the deck, but yeah, this is the guide. You can also watch, I just recently did a 5-hour stream in which I played PURRELY. I will link this up in the right corner on the info point. You can just also watch the stream and then learn something there. And remember, you can switch cards out here if you want to. I have talked about this, the different version. They can also play with the Duel and maybe then a triple trap. So there are a few different versions. There will be a few different versions popping up over the next few days, but I hope you could learn something. Let me know in the comments if it was helpful. Thanks for being here, and we will see each other in the next one.